It officially happened. Waymo Los Angeles is now completely live for everybody. You do not need an invite code anymore. There's no more waitlist. Anyone can now order Waymo in LA. You can see right here, this is an email I got about 4 hours ago, at least the exact time and filming of this video. Drumroll please, Waymo is now open to everybody in LA. This is kind of crazy because I talked before in other videos that, when it comes to Waymo and everything, especially here in LA and other places, there's either a wait list, you need a special invite code or to be invited to the app. Not anymore. Now anyone can ride instantly, no wait list or invite code required, like I just said. As you ramp up in the next few weeks, here are things to keep in mind. And this is kind of interesting. As new riders experience Waymo for the first time, we expect to be particularly busy because of this. Availability may be limited and prices may be higher during busy times, like nights and weekends. We'll talk about that a bit later in this video. I think that's kind of weird. Like, I get it. It's not that obscure for dynamic pricing because we're used to that when it comes to Uber and Lyft. But I feel like there's a direct reason why there's dynamic pricing with Uber and Lyft during surging. With Waymo, it's kind of weird. Anyway, spread the word. I mean, yeah. I mean, technically, I guess this video is spreading the word. But when we look at Waymo, when it comes to LA, let's go here to show you. Let's go to Los Angeles. These are the places it's in right now. So we have Phoenix, SF, LA, and Austin. And going to LA, let me see if it shows the map here. So you can see right now, at least at the time of this video, this is the map. This has been expanding. Like I remember, I think it was like even 2 months ago, it didn't include Marina Del Rey. Now it does. And in order to get a Waymo, you have to be picked up and dropped off in this location. So let's say I want to take a ride from, let's say, Marina Del Rey to Hermosa Beach Pier, which is kind of like down here. I can't do that. Or let's say if I want to get a ride in Hermosa Beach Pier and go back to Marina Del Rey, I can't do that. But if I want to go from Marina Del Rey to Santa Monica, if I want to go from Santa Monica to, let's say, a place in WeHo or West Hollywood, I can do that. And you can see right here, it operates 24/7 across 79 square miles of LA from Santa Monica to downtown. Let the Waymo driver take the wheel. Now this is official that anyone, without being invited, without an invite code, without the wait list, can now order a Waymo. And I gotta say, this is actually pretty big. This is a huge and massive deal because I've done a lot of videos about Waymo recently. I have my entire Waymo playlist in the description just because it's been something on my radar big time for a long time. With the first time that I took it, which was I think in June of this year, July. I can't remember what month it was, maybe August. It was a while ago, earlier this year. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. I thought someone else would be in the car and they weren't. It was just me by myself in the passenger seat. I remember, felt like a movie scene. People were literally running up to the car and taking pictures or videos, being like, oh my God, freaking out, right? And I've even noticed since then, now people see Waymos out and about in the wild, so to speak, here in LA. And people are like, oh yeah, Waymo. Or I think a big thing sometimes people joke about is Waymo spotted. I don't know why that's like a meme or a trend, but now Waymos aren't that weird to see anymore. And even being inside of a Waymo, at first it felt super trippy. I actually took one last night when going out with my roommates or coming back from a restaurant we went to in Santa Monica. Wasn't that weird at all. I'm like, oh yeah, we get in the Waymo, you play music, it self-drives, the steering wheel turns on its own, it does everything on its own. All right, no big deal. Kind of used to it. And two things that popped into my head, or actually a few, let's say there. Let's start there is one, Waymos are now getting way cheaper than Ubers and Lyfts. I talked before that there was one time I was going out that I documented. I have that video somewhere in that playlist listed below. But to sum it up, I screenshotted the Uber price, the Lyft price, the Waymo price. Waymo was cheaper. Now, I will say, Waymo does take longer than Ubers and Lyfts because they do drive sometimes a little too safe, aggressively safe. With Uber and Lyft, or a human driver, if I'd say it like that, if there's a yellow light, yeah, you can kind of go past it. No big deal. With Waymo, yellow almost means stop. So it drives almost sometimes a bit too safe, and that means it takes a lot longer. It goes exactly the right speed limit. If it's 30, it's 30. If it's 35 or whatever, right? So it does take a bit longer, but like I've said in other videos, with Waymo getting cheaper, most people, the price is the most important thing, the biggest thing, unless you're in a rush. So if a Waymo is going to be cheaper than an Uber or Lyft, even if it takes a little bit longer, no big deal. This is the exact same reason why people took UberX Share or Uber Pool or Lyft Pool back in the day, because you're like, hey, yeah, it takes a little bit longer. Yeah, I'm crammed in the car with other people, but it's cheaper. Same thing with Waymo. So with Waymo being cheaper, with the self-driving technology being kind of, not as surprising as it used to be. Greg, at least for me, I've taken a bunch of Waymos already at this point, and I know people are going to start using it more and more, especially now. The novelty will eventually wear off, where you're just kind of used to it, right? And I think about this, which is even crazier to me, is now anyone can order it. With before, okay, there's a wait list. Like, that's what happened with me. I actually got put on the wait list. Kind of funny how I got invited to Waymo is I actually was in a place called Playa Vista, aka Silicon Beach here in LA. Very expensive area. I don't live there. I didn't live there. I was actually going there to rock climb. Saw a Waymo, and I was like, oh, I've heard about these self-driving cars. And some guy was taking pictures of the Waymo, I think for Google or something, and ended up talking to him. That's why I got put on the wait list, and then that's why I got accepted on the wait list. Or for other people, we might need an invite code and get invited. I think when I first got access to those invite codes, I could invite 6 people a month. Now this is not the case, which means, like they said in the email, anyone can now order Waymo. And again, this is turning more and more into that Black Mirror episode, more and more into, I think, a concern for a lot of drivers, where I'm like, wow, anyone can order Waymo now. There's not that barrier to entry of a wait list or an invite code or whatever. Anyone can order Waymo, which is pretty alarming for all my Los Angeles drivers, especially, say, if you drive in SF, if you drive in Phoenix, if you drive in Austin. This might be something to be aware of, right? Because I remember one of my roommates on the Waymo last night made this point, and again, I've said this before in other videos, and she was like, yeah, I think Waymo was kind of nice if, say, you're not in the mood to be social. If you don't want to have, say, a social interaction with somebody, Waymo can be kind of nice of, just kind of being in the car, you zone out, as opposed to getting an Uber or Lyft. You have to have that formality of, hey, how's your day going so far? Good, what about you? And you want to go to your phone and just kind of scroll on your phone or kind of zone out, but you don't want to be rude. You don't want to be short or too quick with them, right? So Waymo can be very convenient, especially for a lot of people. Like, say you get in a Waymo and you want to have a private conversation with your friends. You don't really have to worry about the Uber or Lyft driver being there. So there is a lot of advantages to being in a Waymo, not just the price, right? So I think with all those factors being considered, it is crazy now that today this got announced, which is kind of ironic because yesterday I did a video about how to order a Waymo on the app. I literally just did that video. And in that video, I said, yeah, at the time of this video, you have to be invited or you have to get brought off the wait list. And that was literally yesterday. Now it's like, wait a minute, anyone can just get a Waymo in seconds. And I think this could be a concern. I'm not going to lie. For all my Uber drivers and Lyft drivers in LA, with Waymo's getting cheaper, becoming more common, with it being super easy to order one now, you just download the app and go, similar to an Uber or Lyft. And then in addition, with some of the advantages of the pricing and the fact that you're in it, by yourself, all this kind of stuff, they might start getting more preferred than Ubers and Lyfts, like I said, especially with the price. And now talking about the price, it is weird how Waymo's doing this. This is kind of odd to me when it comes to surging. I touched upon that briefly and said, let's bring that up a bit later being now, is the reason why surge and dynamic pricing exists with Uber and Lyft, right? Let's be honest, is it incentivizes the drivers to get on the road. Because say it's a Friday or Saturday night, say it's a morning or evening commute, the typical times to drive for all the Uber drivers and Lyft drivers out there. Well, what Uber and Lyft does is they say, hey, we're going to charge passengers more money for these rides. Because of that, it almost encourages, and it does encourage, drivers to then get out on the road. And every driver knows this. You want to make the most amount of money? Friday, Saturday nights, morning and evening commutes. So the pricing of anything, I think, is to encourage more drivers to be on the road because there's more demand. And Uber and Lyft says, hey, there's more demand for all these rideshare out there, all these rides. We want to make sure we have enough cars. We want to make sure we have enough of a fleet to be able to pick up all these people and do all these rides. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, we need people right now. We're going to pay you more, almost like a company giving you a bonus or an incentive, right? It is an incentive, I guess, at the end of the day. We're going to give you an incentive to go out and drive right now in this high demand period because we need people because there's a lot of rides happening. That's how surge pricing works when it comes to dynamic pricing. It's weird though that Waymo's doing that because I have noticed Waymo does have dynamic pricing, but then I think okay, it's not like it's encouraging more human drivers to get on the road. It's So the surging with Waymo, I think is kind of odd. The only thing I can think of is two things. One, they just want to make more money. Waymo probably saying like, hey, we know people are used to spending more money on an Uber or Lyft on a Friday night. We're going to do the same, even though we're just pocketing that extra cash. We're pocketing that extra fee, that extra extra surge we're getting because it's a peak time. Or two, which might be part of it too, or maybe a combination of the two, is the staff. So the way Waymo works is when you're in a Waymo, in case you didn't know, when you're in a Waymo, the way it works is audio is cut off. You can't, the team of Waymo can't hear anything, but they do see you. So let's say if something goes wrong, someone's not wearing their seatbelt, there's too many passengers in the car, et cetera, Waymo will actually turn on the audio. This is the only time they do that and say, hey, this is blah, blah, blah from Waymo support team. We just noticed so-and-so is not wearing their seatbelt. We just noticed too many people in the car. We just noticed somebody was drinking an alcoholic drink, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And that's the only time that happens. So maybe Waymo's saying, hey, we want to have more people on call, so to speak, or more people watching the Waymos, maybe almost like a security monitor with like a bunch of Waymos and people just like looking around or whatever. Maybe they do need more people, which I guess does make some sense, to monitor the Waymos during peak hours, which is why they're charging more, so they could pay people and pay more people to be kind of on staff and on call of watching these Waymos. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's a combination of the two. That is kind of interesting. I feel like the surge pricing is kind of odd. I'm like, okay. I feel like they're just trying to get more money out of people because they're like, hey, people are willing to spend more money for an Uber Lyft on a Friday night or a morning or evening commute. Maybe they'll do that for Waymo. But regardless of that, I will say it is crazy that now Waymo is available to everybody in LA. I can see this happening a lot or maybe it will. We'll have to look into it in terms of Phoenix, SF, and Austin. I didn't really check into that, but who knows if they're doing it all at once or they're going place by place. But it's live. Waymo LA, Waymo Los Angeles is now available to everybody. And the whole Waymo fleet, the whole word about Waymo is now getting bigger and more prominent than ever before. And as Waymo continues to spread with more cars, more apps, more people using it, the radius of LA increasing, maybe they're spreading to other cities, self-driving cars, and I might even say self-driving taxis, self-driving ride sharing, self-driving rides in general is becoming way more popular.